Within Islam, there is a tendency to dismiss any Arabian culture or civilization before Muhammad as, quote, Jahiliyyah, which means ignorance. This is naturally a pejorative term indicating how the pre-Islamic Arabs were barbaric and uncivilized. By using words like ignorance in almost one fell swoop, they are dismissing all previous Arab cultures, civilizations, and their achievements, thus confining them to the scrap heap of history. This, of course, is a false narrative which Muslims have created, which bears no semblance to actual history. It is nothing less than their own pseudo-history, done solely to elevate Islam. It is disingenuous and discourteous as aspects of their own culture benefited from these earlier peoples and societies. As a matter of fact, Islam would never have existed the way it did had it not been for earlier civilizations upon which it was built upon and later took credit for. Some of the examples were shown in previous videos and more will be shown in this video. An example of an ancient Arab group who the later subsequent Arabs and Islam benefited from immensely were the Nabateans. Although no one knows for sure, their name may have been derived from the same root as the Akkadian Nabatu, to shine brightly. Nonetheless, they emerged as a distinct civilization and political entity between the 4th and 2nd centuries BC, based in northern Arabia and the Levant. Their kingdom centered around a trading network which brought them considerable wealth and influence across the ancient world. Their capital was based in present-day Petra, Jordan. Here is one of the most elaborate temples called Al-Khazana, which means the treasury, built in the 1st century AD. It is an ingenious piece of architecture and a marvel considering it was constructed 2,000 years ago. Today it is a World Heritage Site and one of the world's most famous archaeological sites according to UNESCO. So how these people can be called ignorant is unfathomable, especially when post-Islamic Muslim Arabs were going around demolishing architecture and culture, whilst the Nabatean Arabs were creating a long-lasting history and splendour which amazes the world till modern times. A genuine question needs to be posed at this juncture. Is there a comparable building built by Muhammad 600 years later than the Nabateans, or by his followers, or even anything since that can be claimed to be better than the one the Nabateans left behind all those years ago? Far from being ignorant and living in chaos, the Nabateans were powerful and wealthy, which the Greeks and Romans acknowledged. The American Museum of National History mentions it as a center of international trade for many parts of the known world. In Hadith literature, Muhammad and his companions frequently traded with them. They referred to the Levantine Nabatean Arabs as Ambat Asham in the Arabic. The area of Petra and the Levant was known as Asham to early Muslims. However, it is incorrectly translated as just Syria. Nonetheless, Islamic sources references that the area was a known trading area even during Muhammad's time. In Sahih Muslim, there was an occasion when most of the Muslims left Muhammad just to trade with them, leaving him deserted, for which a Quranic verse was revealed. Not only were they wealthy, influential, and powerful, they were experts in building hydraulic systems that over 2,000 years later the Arab Bedouins of today are still using, as shown by the American Museum of Natural History. In the Brown University website, in an article called A Brief History of Petra, it says, quote, "The most remarkable of all Nabatean achievements is the hydraulic engineering systems they developed, including water conservation systems and the dams that were constructed to divert the rush of swollen winter waters that create flash floods, end quote. So by any metric, it's an insult to call these people ignorant. Such was their importance. A collection of papyri from Ptolemaic Egypt makes mention of the Nabateans in the archives of Zenon, dated to 257 BC. These private letters mention business and trade interactions with the Nabateans. The Nabatean Arabs have left an indelible mark in history. Names such as Aretas are mentioned in the Bible, who, according to Paul, his governor in Damascus, tried to arrest him. The king is also mentioned by Josephus in his Antiquities, and his name is found in several inscriptions and on numerous coins. Just as a point of comparison, Muhammad is said to be the most influential and respectful person of his time by Muslims. However, there are no such contemporaneous, independent, historical, or archaeological evidence corroborating his existence. Archaeological evidence strongly suggests that the Nabatean women had a high role in social and political life, which is shown by the fact that Nabatean queens were depicted on coins. At other times, Nabatean queens were depicted on coins together with their spouse, the king. The assumption made from this by numismatists is that they co-ruled together, showing how Nabatean queens and other female members were given or already had political importance and status. Muhammad came 600 years later and said women cannot be leaders, that evil omens are in women. Aisha complained how they were made equal to dogs. In Quran 5:6, for those actions that defile a man's ablution, after defecation it mentions touching women. Muslim apologists often make the claim how before Islam women were worse off and Islam transformed their lives for the better, whereas real evidence shows it is the reverse. Nabatean women had many legal rights. Inscriptions on their tombs demonstrate the equality of property rights between men and women, and women's rights in matters of inheritance and also their ability to make decisions about their own property. These rights are not even afforded to Arab women in modern times. So how pre-Islamic Arabs can be called ignorant is just incorrect. Here is an article discussing such research conducted by Dr. Hatun Al-Fasi. Her book is being referred to where she uncovered much of this research and has produced more studies on the topic since. The Nabateans cannot be called ignorant because they influenced the Arabic language. In other words, the Arabic language itself originates from the Nabatean Arabs. Part 10 of these video series explained the link between modern Arabic and Nabatean Arabic in more detail. The Metropolitan Museum mentions that the origins of the Arabic alphabet can be traced to the writing of the Nabateans. This is important, bearing in mind Muslims and Islam put so much emphasis on eloquence and the literary excellence of Quranic Arabic. It was not Allah or Muhammad, but it was the Nabatean Arabs who gave rise to the Arabic language, meaning when Muslims claim Arabic to be a heavenly language, the language of Allah, the Quran, Muhammad, and Muslims, which the Quran itself and Hadith espouses. Yet it was the pagan Nabateans who created it, yet Muslims call them ignorant. The table on the left shows a standardized evolution from the Nabatean alphabet to the modern Arabic. Below it is the modern Arabic alphabet with phonetics, and on the right is the Nabatean alphabet with its names and sounds. When compared to the Arabic alphabet, a clear likeness can be seen, not only in its structure, but also in its resemblance in the names and sounds. So, in conclusion, Muslims claim Arabs before Islam were ignorant and irrelevant. But hundreds of years before the arrival of Islam, the Nabateans contributed to Arab civilization in ways that were innumerable and unquantifiable, though unappreciated by Islam and the Muslims. They were technologically and architecturally advanced as they were economically prosperous. They left an indelible mark on history. They gave women rights that are not even afforded to modern Muslim women. They were responsible for the Arabic language, which Muslims claim to be a heavenly language. So this is a clear case whereby the ignorance label is more befitting to those doing the accusing rather than those being accused.